6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. Number 2 on our agenda is public comments. We have no members of the public, so we will skip the first public comment section. Number 3, we have agenda review. Okay. Everybody else, okay? Okay. Number 4, we have the minutes of the previous meeting from August 4th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody have any corrections to the meeting minutes from August 4th, 2026? All right, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from August 4th, 2026, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Number 5, we have transportation.
Okay, so Butler shared the list with me this afternoon, so I dropped those in the drive. So those are in there for review. I did not see anything that stuck out to me as an issue. If there's anything that you guys notice, happy to bring that back to them, but I think they're good to go. They've been very communicative, which has been great. This
I don't see it.
afternoon. They're in there. It's called Pembroke Hill and
Oh,
TRS PDF. Sorry, I did it while I was in transition. I didn't label it great.
Okay.
It's in there. I'm going to rename it right now.
You need us to vote on this tonight?
Ideally,
Yeah.
and if there's any issues that come up between now and the start of school year, we can make those changes.
Okay.
Just relabeled it to transportation. Yeah, so it's kind of hard to. It's apples and oranges compared to the bus stops, but I didn't see anything that stuck out to me.
I'm relying on others if anybody sees anything huge, because Three Rivers starts at 7:45. That's the only thing I see. I don't know if that's kind of close now on the green bus. 7:40. They'll get to Three Rivers. About 5 minutes. Me- feel like the buses used to be there at 7:35, but I don't really know. As long as they think they can make it. I mean,
Yeah, they've been working back. They've been in contact with Katie and Wendy.
oh, good. Okay.
So
as long as they don't
Yeah.
see an issue.
yeah, there's some.
Okay, good. I probably had 7:45, so I was not late. Anybody else have any questions on the bus schedules proposed? No.
Mm-hmm. Yellow's got quite a few too. I'll make a motion to approve the bus routes as presented.
Any? Go ahead. Yep.
So I'm looking at one bus, this is this, green bus. 7:40 at Three Rivers, 7:48 at Pembroke Hill School. Then I go to Orange Bus. 7:36 at Three Rivers, 7:38 at Pembroke Hill School. I think that,
Yeah, students can get there at 7:40 though.
no, I understand that,
Yeah.
but I mean, 2 minutes to go from Three Rivers to,
Oh, gotcha. Good
I
time.
mean, that Orange,
They're probably not making it in 2 minutes.
yeah, Pink, I mean,
Yeah.
10 minutes on each one of the other ones. So,
I can have them go back and check.
That's probably a typo.
You said that was green bus. Student?
yeah,
Orange.
Orange Bus.
Orange. I see it. Okay. Maybe they meant 48.
Yeah, I look.
You
I
got-
bet you it's a typo.
And Red Bus only has 6 minutes, which is more doable, but
All right, so check orange.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean they had people go out and run dry runs, so
Okay.
and they'll do it again. Pink bus. Oh, yeah.
The only thing I just noticed that not a huge thing. It's a mistake. I'm assuming red bus. We don't have students at Underhill.
Which one?
If you look at red bus in the morning, they must mean Hill School, but they got the hooks.
Oh, wrong address.
Wrong.
They do mean
Hill
Hill.
School. Yeah, they just have the wrong school listed.
Yeah.
No, I think those
No,
are
but we
little
can do
things.
pending these changes.
Yeah, those are,
Yeah, I think it's just a little minor.
I think at the other end of it is, this is going to be their first time doing it.
Right.
So,
They're probably going to come back with amendments.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Would be my guess.
I think parents also have to be, I don't know how many parents are going to go in and look at the bus schedule, but,
That'll be a lot. Oh yeah.
They do.
but they may be, maybe be made aware that times may vary,
Yep.
so you don't have everything blowing up.
Yeah, and they'll run a couple practice runs still, but I have a feeling that once they run it with kids on it for the first time, there'll be some changes.
Well, it's also, if they're running right now too, the traffic volume's a little
Yes,
lower
100%.
this time of year.
Okay, I got
Yep.
all those changes.
Okay. All right. If you guys are okay, I'm going to move on to B for handbooks.
We
No?
didn't,
Just to vote that again?
Yeah.
Just those.
because you didn't vote, you just made the motion.
Yeah, I just,
Oh, I thought we did. I heard the second.
first and second, and then we discuss some more.
Yep. You just didn't vote.
Okay. So all those in favor of approving the bus stops as proposed with the minor changes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstain? Okay. Thought we voted. All right. We'll move on to B, handbooks.
I'll start with Miss Gagney real quick, and then I'll hand it off to Mr. Hamilton to continue our conversation from the last meeting. Miss Gagney provided a couple of change proposals. She had put some example for the bullying policy, but that'll be pending the board's approval of the bullying policy. So really, the change that she would be looking for approval on for tonight that we have solid language on is the bus transportation piece. There was a number 18 added to that. And then the website photography and video audio releases. This is in line with the new laws that were passed. Katie made some updates to the language there. So really, it's those two things that she'd be amending the policy or the handbook for. with your approval. And then once the JICK policy gets approved, then we'll make amendments to all the handbooks.
Okay.
Yeah, the audio recording. Yes, the release. Yeah. So she's brought that up to date with
Yep.
current policy. Yeah, I think so because there's no changes to the Hill School handbook from when you adopted it back in June, other than once you approve JICK, then the updates to the handbook will happen at that point. But you can move to allow for that future amendment to go in. That way we don't have to bring it back. So choose.
Just a question on I'm looking at the releases, video,
Mm-hmm.
photography.
Yep.
So pretty much as far as classroom stuff, they're going to handle it like Pembroke Academy did last year. Like if there's a class, they're going to send that out, get written permission, but we're not going to like change things because of this, right? We're just going to be
Right. So
mindful and send that ahead of time.
there was an update this summer that allows for like the broadcasting of like plays, concerts, things like that again. So that was we already discussed that back in the spring. And that was a new law that got passed, but permission still needs to be granted for any recordings or anything like that for inside the classrooms.
Okay. Because I swear, when this first rolled out, like at the high school, we did one. We all got one. What am I talking about? We all got one and it covered any of those classes.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. A whole class. Okay. That makes sense. That's what I was thinking of.
Gotcha.
Okay. So then they've done the amendment. We don't have to worry about the chorus concerts as much anymore. Okay.
Yep.
Now it makes sense
Yeah, it's just the daily
Yep.
routine stuff.
of how to figure that out.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? No. Go ahead. I was waiting for you.
No, it's all right. Motion to approve the changes to the TRS handbook. And also, how should I word this? To give permission for future amendment, on policy JICK.
I'll second it. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor of approving the TRS handbook changes as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? No, we're good. All of us.
So then something similar for a Hill School for policy JSK
Yep.
would be great.
All right. I will also make a motion to allow future amendments to the Hill School handbook, policy JICK.
Any questions, comments? No. All those in favor of approving future amendments of the Hill School handbook related to JICK, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Abstention? Okay.
All right, now we'll hand it over to Mr. Hamilton for EA. Derek, not to be picky, but can you talk into a mic? Please, thank you. No, I didn't add it. Left it. Okay. No changes from last time as of this point. And I'll drag and drop it while we're talking.
I do have a quick question. When you were doing that research, the bigger high schools around us, do they all give the opportunity to reassess? Okay. We can wait or we could just ask questions if anybody has any questions. Anyone else have questions?
Well, I mean, we can, if Kristen's definitely
You-
coming, I mean, you guys can table it until
Yeah.
she gets back here and we can kind of move on if that's,
That's fine. Yeah, we can,
I mean, if she's coming in, we probably
Yeah.
should honor that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
absolutely. That's fine with me. Because I have questions on it. I'm not sure I'm a fan to begin with. Like, if we're preparing them for college level, like, I don't get to take any of my projects again. Like, that's why I was wondering, do the high schools around us all offer to get a 2? Do they even get to try again? Or, I don't know. I don't like competency based. I'm just gonna, it's at a 2 or a 3. Oh, you could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Kristen pulled in, so she'll be here shortly. Yeah. Just pretty quick.
Do you want us to move on to legislative stuff? We can wait a few minutes. I don't mind if she's on her way in. Okay. I don't know how much you had. We can do see legislative updates and then we'll come right back.
Yeah, so there was, I know we talked last time about a couple of the bills that got passed that are going to have an impact on our budgeting process this fall. And there was a piece around the district's voting that I got clarification on from our legal counsel. And I wanted to circle back and talk about that real quick. Just find my notes real quick.
I saw this before. Like you had like a summary, legal summary.
There's something in the
Yeah.
public.
Now
put
can't
it
find it.
I put it in
non-public.
non-public because it was the whole
Oh,
brief.
Okay.
The whole
that's
brief.
And I'm just referring to a couple of the
In
notes.
brief, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Which wasn't easy to read.
No.
Well, it's legal jargon.
I know. I read it 3 times. I'm like, let me see if I picked out the
Yeah.
important parts.
Okay. So it was regarding the SAU budget adoption. So coming into this fall, or this March, I guess, rather, the SAU budget is going to have to be put on the March voting ballot separately from the district budget, even though it's going to be built into the district budget. So it'll be part of the district budget, but it also has to be listed separately
On our warrant article.
on our warrant article. And there also has to be like a default budget
But we're not
created for
SB2.
it. The law requires they use a different word for it. I forget
I
what it is,
saw
but
it.
it's essentially a default budget for SAU.
Yeah.
Even though it's not an SB2, like it's not even a district, it's just an entity. So we have to create 2 separate budgets for the SAU. They have to go onto the warrant article in March and they have to be listed first before the district budget. The SAU budget will also still continue to be built into the district budget. What happens though to determine if the SAU budget passes or not is that every school, it'll be placed on each of the ballots in each of the districts. And then all the votes have to be gathered from each of the towns and calculated up to determine whether it passes or not, based on the voting body that showed up to vote that day. So,
Yeah, okay.
so there will be an interesting calculation that happens. So the ballots are combined and the results are determined based on the total votes cast throughout the entire SAU unit. And so if it passes by a majority, if the majority of voters across the SAU approve the article, then the proposed budget is adopted. If the majority do not approve of the budget article, then the quote unquote default is the set budget.
So there's no world in which one town can approve their version of the SCU budget and the other one doesn't.
Correct.
Cool.
So essentially every town has a veto over every other town on the SCU budget. That's effectively
Ish.
what this
Yeah.
is.
That's exactly what that
Yeah,
says.
depending on the number of voters that show up.
It's one aspect of this. So let's say in all 5 districts, the SAU budget fails,
Mm-hmm.
but in all 5 districts, the budget passes with the non-default SAU budget in it.
Then it'll be,
With
it
the-
gets readjusted.
But the thing is, it's in total.
Mm-hmm.
That
So you'll
that
have a
budget
bottom line
right.
that is
So-
greater than the,
But it's
Yeah.
like there's
it's not clean.
no, because
Right.
you've voted on the budget, which includes the SAU
Right.
budget at what's needed. But then on the other hand, say no, first, before you even vote on this, knowing full well
Yeah.
that you're going to go vote no against the SAU budget, but yes for the school budget.
Mhm.
So in fact, you are voting yes for the SAU budget.
Correct.
So
Right.
that's
It's going to
how
be confusing
can
for
some
voters.
lawyer not make
It's
this
going-
point already.
I think they have.
Well,
I think it may have fell on deaf ears.
So,
that's the point. Deaf ears don't matter when it comes
Right.
to law.
so
Ignorance isn't bliss.
When your objective
really
is to
con-
break something, it doesn't
Yeah, I
matter
get
how
that,
you
but
break it.
It's the legislature
Right.
must adhere to the laws
Yeah.
of the state of New Hampshire, and the budget passes, the SAU budget passes. Period.
but in November, it's still going to be on the ballot for the SAU cap and the school budget cap.
That's for the tax cap. And
Tax cap is different.
the tax cap is different, right? So we currently, the SAU cap is a determination on whether the SAU can be capped at a 6% in relation to each district budget, which our SAU does not even come close to 6% of any of our district budget. So we're fine, like go ahead, vote that in. We already don't meet that. Like that's fine. So that won't impact us necessarily. The tax cap on the town, we don't know what that amount will be yet. Amber, Ms. Wheeler is going to calculate that because they give us the formula of how to determine that because it's based off of last year's town appropriations. There's a whole formula that we have to follow to figure out what the tax cap would be for
Right,
the
I
next
saw
budgeting
that.
cycle. Yeah,
For the school district budget.
correct.
And we
not
will
the
have
town
that.
budget pack.
Got it. Yes.
It's
correct.
based off of last year's like town budget. though.
Yeah, but
Right,
the
but-
municipal
Yes.
side doesn't get capped.
Correct.
Right. So that, again,
Yes, just for the school.
yeah,
Yes.
again, that's just,
And we will have those soon so that we can have at least one
Yeah.
question and answer
it's-
session before it's on the
Well, that was-
ballot
That's
in
going to
November.
be, she's closing the budgets first. So that's
Yeah.
the first priority is to close last year's fiscal budgets. And so we're
Yep.
almost to that point. So once the budgets are closed, then her focus will shift to creation of the budgets, which will include that calculation for tax cap. Because we need that for November. So that's going to be a priority right away.
We're going to need a communication plan
Mhm.
that
Correct.
is a
I'm already
That's what
working
I'm
on it.
saying.
scaled back a little bit from the normal budget one, but one that
Yep.
is as
I'm working
clear
on it.
and
That would educate what
consistent.
this would,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. That's why I was wondering about the timeline because we need to do something to educate before the
Mhm.
vote.
Yep.
Okay,
there is no number associated with the school district tax cap. Somebody could say it's a 1%.
No, it is a
Formula.
set formula.
What-
They don't get to change that. It goes on the ballot.
Okay.
So nobody has a say over what goes on the ballot necessarily. Like you can't change any of those numbers. So the law that was put through sets a determined rate based off of a formula that we need to figure out, and that's what will go on the ballot.
That's like three moving pieces.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Okay.
So, but that is the priority because that comes in November before we even
Exactly.
finalize budgets, before we even, make a lot of final decisions on budgets for March. So I wanted to make sure that I had that because I said I would come back with how those votes were going to be tabulated. And so that's how it's going to be, is that the votes will be pulled from each of the sending districts for the SAU will all take the total voter roll. And out of that total voter roll, whether a majority approved of the SAU budget or not will determine what the SAU budget is. I don't know who's responsible for tabulating those. They didn't say which district out of the 5 get to count that total. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Well, it should be somebody.
Well, it should be
I don't know.
somebody from each town for each town.
Yeah, I don't know.
5 people, 5 town clerks,
Yep.
not 5, how we go in and volunteer to count ballots, right? Not 5 of us.
We should add that to the full board meeting in October, because I do feel like we need a representative from each town.
And again, not a school board member, not a select board member.
Yep.
The town clerk or someone or town administrator, whoever, someone who has a legal obligation. I mean, we have legal obligations.
Yeah,
we are also biased.
Yeah.
Somebody who's not tied to a school, but
Yeah.
tied to a town.
Yeah,
in a legal
it
manner.
may be embedded in the law. I didn't see anything that accounted for who tabulates that, but it could be buried in there.
But the thing is, those votes are going to be all on one sheet, like we all get to sit there and we're going like this and moving things back and forth, and then recounting stuff. But the machines counted it already
Mhm.
in
But
most
then you have
cases,
to,
unless there's a write-in, then you put it in your tax of 25. But each one of those, you're going to have to go through it line by line, even if the ballot machine has counted it, because,
This is in March,
November is the vote on the cap.
but the SAU
then- oh, I'm
budget
sorry.
is March. So it'll be after, because we have town meetings on that Saturday, but then there's voting on that Tuesday. So it'll be after, we have to wait until after that Tuesday to tabulate everything. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we won't know until after that Tuesday.
So do you see what Jean is saying? Sure that each town is involved and we'll all,
Well, no,
yeah.
if you're voting on as a warrant, it is at school district meeting or SB2 voting on Tuesday.
Yeah, for
Us would be on the Saturday.
correct. For Pembroke and Chichester, it'll be on Saturday, but for the other towns, it'll be Tuesday. So we won't know the results of anything until after Tuesday. Correct. Because it's on your warrants. So that'll come to the warrants on Saturday for Pembroke and Chichester only. And then Tuesday, that'll be
The other
for, for Deerfield, Epsom, and Allenstown. So we just have to wait. Like, we won't know the results until,
Yeah, for the
after-
SAU.
Yeah.
Should be on there, how to decide who's going to count them.
yeah, like I said, I haven't finished reading through all
I
of
haven't
that.
read any of that.
So it may be in the actual language of the law. I just didn't see it in there. So,
Okay.
but as I learn more, I'll bring it forward. I wanted to make sure you knew how those votes were going to be tabulated.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yes, we're going to go back to, we're going to go conversation on B for handbooks. For PA. Yeah, she,
Yeah. Do you want to? You can invite her up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that one.
Glad you made it here safe. We heard you were flying.
No, driving aggressively.
Oh, driving aggressively. That's what it was. Yeah.
Hi, friends. Hi, friends. Okay. How's everyone doing?
Like you said, it's hot in here.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. So do you want to ask me questions? Do you want to hear how we came to the policy request or the policy that we're asking for? What would be best?
Melanie said she had some questions. I think Ann has a question. Have a general.
I asked a lot of my questions. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm
You
just,
can go.
this is a general conversation piece, I guess. I'm trying to square up the two pieces that in my mind are in a little bit of conflict, right? This is the reassessment and what's the other thing? Sorry, still summer mode.
I know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The best score you can get on a
Is a three.
reassessment is
Yeah.
a 3.
Yeah. Yeah, because that and then also this idea that a 4 represents distinction.
Mhm.
I don't see how you can do both of those things because
How you can do both of what things?
how you can say you're not going to allow a reassessment
Yep.
over a 3.
Yep.
And still but then say, well, the 4 is with distinction anyway, because what you're saying is some really, really, really good students doing really, really good work. If it's not quite at distinction, they're going to be stuck at a 3 and not a 4. And that disadvantages them, as I said last time, with respect to their academic record and college applications and things of that nature. So one of the conversation pieces we had, I know, was culturally the building has adjusted itself. This is not a criticism, it's just a reality.
Yeah.
To the fact that reassessments are always available and they're almost there for the student who has a little bit more initiative, maybe. I don't doubt that there are people taking advantage of it. I don't doubt that at all. But also it does send the message of, well, if I go back at it in the spirit of competency-based education, if I put extra work in, I can then ultimately get myself to excellence, right? And that will then benefit me. It strikes me that if we're taking that away, then we're leaving it at a little bit more capricious kind of stage to say, for a student to say, I think this is the right thing to do, but the teachers have for 10 years, 15 years, mentally been in this place where this work might be a 3 with the possibility of reassessment. So I don't know what kind of adjustments are going to be made to people's approach to this, such that a student wouldn't inadvertently be penalized. I guess what I'm saying here is if you want to prevent a reassessment, then you have to abandon, I would say, this idea that a 4 is distinction. It has to be achievable in a normal way of doing the work, not an extra effort way of doing the work. Does that make sense?
So
I don't see you can do both of those things, I guess.
So you, just to kind of summarize what I think you're saying is that, so we have, with our rubrics, the 4 is really hard to achieve by design, that it is to be competent with distinction. Maybe 3, maybe 2. When was Chris Motika here? Was he right before Amy Parkinson? Okay. So when we were kind of talking about making our rubrics, he kind of taught us that a 4 should be really hard to achieve, that was to be competent with distinction. There is an element of independence, that students are getting there independently, and that a 4 was difficult for students to be able to achieve, that there should not be plentiful 4s being given out in a class. Like if I have a class of 25 students and I'm giving an assignment, 20 students shouldn't be getting 4s on an assignment, that should be difficult to achieve. The way that the rubric is written, a 4 should be difficult to achieve. I don't know that every teacher was here for Chris Motika to kind of get that training, but so I don't know that every teacher kind of would ascribe to that philosophy. But I do know that in the discussions that we've had within the social studies department and then that I've had interdepartmentally, that we do kind of go back and forth. And we did have that discussion as the PALT. What does a 4 mean? The wording that we all use is competent with distinction. In our department, we talk about mastery. And in math, they don't necessarily use that term mastery. But we sort of discussed that with our department, that you kind of have mastered the topic, whatever it is that the student is doing. For us, a lot of things are communication, and have they mastered the communication of writing? Have they mastered the communication of getting up and presenting things in front of the class? One of our jobs is to make sure that these students can get up and confidently present things so that when they go to college or they get up and they're going to speak at a town meeting, that they can confidently do so, or they get up and give a speech at graduation, they're confident speakers. So what does a 4 look like? And we've had a lot of discussions about that interdepartmentally. So are you wondering, Ken, then if we change this policy so that we are not allowing students to reassess to a 4, are you wondering then if we need to change what a 4 looks like? Is that what you're
Yeah, I mean,
wondering?
Yeah.
ultimately, yes. And also, I would say, because so you said something there, which is an insight that I hadn't had, but it's also adds to my concern. If you have different departments putting different normative language on it,
Mhm.
that's a serious problem.
Well, we,
And the word distinction to
Mhm.
me is over and above whatever the thing actually is.
yep, and
Right.
that's our
So-
school
so-
wording.
so
So
I
we
would- I
all
would
use
say-
that wording.
yeah.
That
So
is
I
what
would-
we
I
all
would
have
say
to
a
use.
4 wouldn't be distinction. A 4 would be a 4.
Right.
You could call it mastery. I
Mhm.
would. I certainly would.
That's where
But it's the
I'm stuck
distinction label
is the
and-
label,
and
yeah.
the philosophy of that
Mhm.
more than anything.
that's where I'm stuck
That
too.
It
Like,
feels like a student can't just get a normal 4. The 4 it's a 3 with distinction,
correct.
Mhm.
which is not what a 4-point scale would necessarily do just as a math problem.
Like, cause I am in a master's program, right? And I
Mhm.
follow it, and every Sunday,
Yep.
it should be clearly written what you need to do to get a
Mhm.
4. It shouldn't be
Yep.
teachers' perception of what
Yep.
they've learned.
And all of our rubrics are.
It should be,
Yep.
you need 10 resources. Well,
Yep.
I gave you 12.
Yep.
And I did this and I
Yep.
went, I have 15 pages. I don't have 12.
Yep.
Like, it should be clearly written and
Yep.
not based on what the teacher perceives
Yes.
as distinction.
And that's
And
how
this
ours
policy, it made it seem like it looked rough. I was stuck where Ken was. Like, it shouldn't be unachievable to get a 4. It should be clearly defined and they know what they need to do to
are.
get
I
a
can
4.
show you one of my rubrics if that's helpful.
I wasn't concerned that the rubrics were
Yeah.
problematic.
No, the
That-
rubrics are
that- I
all,
don't have a
like,
problem.
this is
with
exactly what they have to do for a 4. This is
Yeah.
what 4 is. This is what a 3. This is what a 2. This is what a 1. And it's competent with distinction, competent. So the 4, 3, 2, 1 are all, every single one of us in the building. We all use the same verbiage for what a 4 is, for like the labeling of a 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mhm.
What the components are different departmentally, depending on what the classes are.
So I think the word distinction lost me then, because whether it's science or whatever, if they're doing that 4, they should be getting a 4. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be
It
this
should just
distinct.
be- yeah,
It
it's-
should be a
it's
4.
It's some of it's a language problem.
I
but
think so.
Underneath it, I think I worry about a culture problem
Correct.
as well, because in addition to maybe different departments have, which some of this is inevitable, right?
Mhm.
Like they're going to be slightly different calibrations on these kinds of things. But what I know from my own experience, from watching my own children go through this and their friends as well, sometimes the feedback is timely and sometimes it's not.
Mhm.
And so the ability even to get to that 4 is compromised if the culture of the building and the culture of some of the departments maybe, or it might just be 1 or 2 people,
Yep.
is not supportive of that.
Mhm.
I feel like, in other words, the ability to reassess, has been, forgive me, papering over
Mhm.
some instructional something lacking on the instructional side,
Mhm.
where a student may not be getting the formative feedback they need then to integrate that into something that gives
Correct.
them a summative that's a 4, if that
Right,
makes
that
any
makes
sense
sense.
at all.
Mhm.
They may well be following the rubric to a T,
Mhm.
but it's a timing problem.
Yep.
And the reassessment has been allowing that to be corrected, right?
Mhm.
With a little additional work.
Mhm.
So this is where I would say any program to change that is going to have to address that underlying problem, which has to do with not just interpreting the numbers, not just, and I think the word distinction needs to be dropped if we're going to do that, because it's just not distinction.
Right.
It's a thing by itself.
Right.
Distinction is over and above the thing, right? Mhm.
Is it SAU wide?
I think so, but I'm not 100%
I
sure
don't
on
think
it.
so.
Oh, you're not? Okay. All right, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mhm. I mean, it would have to be if you want it, if you're going to remove the ability for reassessment, like just out of fairness to the students. You can't have a student who goes into the last 2 weeks of the quarter or the semester or whatever and says, I don't have any feedback on these 3 things leading into the summative thing.
Mhm.
That is not going to be a successful situation, and it's going to be a situation where, I mean, if I'm a student, I would appeal that, right? Because I wasn't given the ability to
Mhm.
integrate feedback in order to get the highest grade possible. Like it was just kind of off the
Mhm.
table. So these are the kinds of things, and I think if we could stay here all night, sort of continue
Yeah.
the threads. But as much as I am appreciative of the pressure point, and I don't want to see students gaming the system either.
No.
That bothers me tremendously that happens, right? I also don't want to adopt a policy that's a corrective on bad behavior that then
That's what I was saying.
inadvertently,
Punishes somebody else.
or at least opens the possibility, which this will,
Yeah.
for some people to misunderstand something, misinterpret something, or a student who genuinely, could have done better work but didn't because the dynamic was not correct in the learning environment. It hadn't readjusted yet, right? So that's why I say it's more of a, how do you do this? How do you shift the culture in order for something like this to be put in place in such a way that it doesn't do that damage? I guess that's the question that I would have. And I'd want to see some kind of, way of addressing that. In addition to the broader question about the label, which I think will be a problem. Because if you leave distinction in there, then you're saying that across the board, the only people who will get a 4 are people who go over and above a thing. That's what distinction usually means, right?
Is there a better word you would put in its place? Or because it's not perfection, and we've talked about that. We're like, it's not that your
Right. Right.
product is perfect,
Right.
but competent means you have met the goal. But a 4 is your product. It stands out. It has exceeded the goal.
Mhm.
So it's been years. So I don't even know the process of how the terminology
I mean, you
came.
use the word mastery, which to me
Mastery.
is what that means.
Right.
Is that's that level,
Mhm.
right? That's the difference between if you've seen the
Expectation.
exceeding language, the old fashioned word excellence still could use that, right?
Mhm.
But I think there's a tripwire on the language, but the reason I don't want to get into semantics, even though we are, because what it does is it signals to people what it is, right? And if we say it's this with a distinction, it's an add-on to a thing rather than the thing itself. If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
I go back to what I was talking about, last week. So I was, my kids graduated literally before the 4.0 system started. So I've got zero experience with it. So I was trying to get a handle on what's a 3, what's a 4, blah, blah, blah. So naturally, logically, I assume a 4 runs between 90 and 100 points on the old grading scale, and so on, so forth, back down the line. So you remove you can say mastery, you can say distinction, you can say competency using the numbers. But, and Derek, you heard me 2 weeks ago, you've got a 4.
Mhm.
So if someone gets a 4, they've done 4 work. And in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, that'd be in the A level, 90, 92 to 100 in that range right there. But now you've got a wide variety that you can have in that 4. So if you use the terminology like Ken's pointing out, distinction or even mastery or excellence, that person who gets a 98, 99, or 100 on that summative or formative versus the person that gets a 92, that's quite a difference right there.
Mhm.
So kind of going to what Ken's saying, and Derek, you kind of mentioned it, that our schools are going away from this grading method. And I think that might be, I think that might be something to look forward to in the future, so you can avoid this conversation or this confusion. And getting to the reassessment thing, I mean, I came back in my day, every once in a while you got them and you took them. And as everyone knows, I was the ultimate student. So I took advantage of that when I could. But
And those were few and far between for us.
What's that?
Those were few and far between for
Yeah,
us to have those
exactly.
opportunities.
So that's why I also have a problem with giving somebody 10 days to do this. I'd be like, all right, here's, I know you have to create the reassessment and all that, but you got 5 school days, not 10 school days, that kind of stuff. If you're going to offer it, shorten that period. So they actually do have to do the work. And it'll probably weed out the ones that are gaming the system, that want to just get a higher grade because, geez, I got a lot of work to do. I can't do this over again right now. And I know you have to ease into it because you haven't had one before. I fully acknowledge that. Yes. Yeah, I fully acknowledge that. But I mean, moving forward, I think it would solve a lot of the problems if we kind of went back, because for a long time it wasn't broken. And I've heard this, the argument that it's subjective. Well, all of this is subjective.
All of it is.
It is.
Whether it's competency based or grade based, it's all subjective. You've got the rubric, which is supposed to make it a little less subjective. But again, that teacher, two teachers could have the same exact
Yeah.
rubric and relate to it differently.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't,
why we're supposed to do like rubric validations between,
Yeah.
within
departments and-
departments and things like that to
Yeah.
make sure that people are grading
Mhm.
similarly
Yeah.
on those things.
But
We do those things.
yeah, but we're all still human too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And that kind of weighs into it. Yeah, just a thought I had, and I don't know if this even enters a conversation. You got little Johnny, who's a solid 3 student.
Mhm.
Right, but on this one, it was 3 work, but he did his absolute best work.
Mhm.
I mean, does that with that human value, that human part of it, does that push him into the 4 range? You know, but I don't know. That was just something that had popped into my head. But I think, just, going back and reevaluating the whole grading system
Mhm.
might be the best way to avoid this conversation in the future and make it a little more clear for everyone.
Yep.
Because, the kids probably understand it because that's what they're used to.
That's what I mean, when I was in elementary school, it was satisfactory, outstanding, needs improvement. So those were letters, but it was basically a 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was all competency based.
Mhm.
And I mean, at this point, I've been grading with a rubric for over 20 years now.
Yeah.
I've been off a 100-point scale for over 20 years now. I wouldn't know what to do with a 100-point scale if you put it in front of me at this point,
Yeah.
because I've been grading with a rubric for so long. I think that the impetus behind all of this was trying to inject more rigor into our program, trying to add that accountability piece in numerous different ways, and trying to add some of those executive function pieces back in with our students that had kind of gone by the wayside with COVID, and
Mhm.
kind of getting that responsibility back in with our students, because I don't know that we're necessarily preparing them as much for life outside of high school. They're going to college and they're getting there. And what do you mean I have to study for a test? What do you mean there are no redos? Anytime I find a recently graduated student, the first thing I ask them, besides how are you doing, is how did we prepare you for college? Did we do a good enough job? Yeah. No, like, no. Did we do a good job preparing you for college? And I worry about how much we need to do more to prepare these kids.
I have like 3 comments on it. The first one is just hearing how it came about. It almost seems like punitive to the rest of the population. I can't imagine that the whole entire high school is manipulating the system to
No.
get the higher grade.
No.
And part of it sits on well with me that we came up with doing this policy because some people are rigging the system, which seems unfair to the kid that's really working really
No,
hard.
and it's not about rigging the system. It's about injecting more rigor, like making
Right.
making everything.
But
more
what I
rigorous
heard was
for-
people were not trying and they've been using
there
the
are
system.
students that aren't, but it's about trying to hold all of our students accountable.
And then the other thing, as a college student, is probably not going to be liked is I'm old. I didn't get to retake my math test. If I got a 72, I busted my butt to get a 94
Yeah.
the next time. And I don't
Yeah.
know that we should have a policy and be allowing all of these retakes and stuff,
Mhm.
other than in extenuating circumstances
Mhm.
where a teacher may validate that this student needs a little more help and they're going to help them and give them the opportunity or something.
Sure.
I don't know if that really sets them up, like you said, for
Mhm.
college. There are no retakes.
Yeah.
You take the grade and you work harder the next time. So I don't know what that looks like in the future. I know it's probably not popular. Maybe it phases out at some point.
Well, that's what we're trying to
Maybe-
figure out. Is this like a middle ground type of thing?
Yeah.
Well, I
we didn't have a
wonder-
policy, so now we have.
I wonder if there's still opportunity or room for alternative assessments to be given on a as needed basis. So instead of maybe like, because part of the thing with competency based, right? They're not just taking one assessment on a measure of the competency for the whole year, unless it's something like math and it's just a discrete set of knowledge that you're going to be tested on once or maybe twice, and that's it. And that's your competency. Your competencies you're going to work on multiple times. There's going to be multiple assessments for one competency, likely. And instead of there being a reassessment, I wonder if there's any kind of flexibility of language that maybe there could be flexibility put in there around, alternative assessments to show demonstration of mastery or competency or some kind of, I know it's play with words, but to allow some flexibility for those kids that, really are trying to self-improve and go above and beyond because they're like so close and they think they can get a 4. They just have to show it a different way, which is the heart of competency based education, is to be able to show you're competent through whatever means necessary to get to that competence. So I wonder if there's a little bit of middle ground within that reassessment piece.
And my only
Is
other
that-
thing, I say it all the time, and I'm sorry, you guys are probably sick of it. I would also want to make sure that the kids that do have an IEP or a 504 that are advocating for themselves and saying, hey, I need 4 extra days, like we're not going to go against
told
any
her
of that
that's
stuff.
different.
I know.
It is. Yep.
I'm
it is.
just saying.
Yep.
We're trying to
Yep.
foster
Yep.
independence in this building
Yep.
for those students. That's all. I just
Yep.
want to make sure we're not creating a barrier.
Yep. No, and that again is right part of that executive function
Right.
piece that, and a lot of students need that. Independence is something that we need to continue to help all of the
Mhm.
kids with,
Mm-hmm. Sorry, that
I'm
didn't
all
really
in
answer
favor
anything.
Of increasing rigor, by the way.
Yeah, me
That's-
too.
No
that,
doubt.
Yeah.
But, I'm all in favor of accountability. I would just want to make sure that an attempt to impose that on the system is doing it on a firm foundation where the students are getting the feedback they need as they go along.
Mhm.
So one of
Mhm.
the things that I would want to make sure is that if, is there this is where it gets cumbersome, but let's say that Johnny, let's bring him back in, right?
Eating on Johnny today.
Poor old Johnny, let's say that there's a problem in the class, right? And accountability is a two-way street, right?
You're
The people running the classroom have to be accountable as well. And I have seen with my own eyes instances where the retake policy has permitted a lax culture around regular feedback. I've watched it happen, right? It has annoyed me. It aggravates me. And if we're going to put a program in to hold students more accountable and to introduce rigor, it has to be complemented by one
Mhm.
that does the same on the instructional side. This is not to malign the vast majority of teachers in this building who do a very good job. But it needs to be the expectation and it needs to be upheld. And unless and until that happens, I don't know how we say to the students, you can't reassess even though you didn't get the feedback you needed to get the best score you possibly could. I don't know how we say that to them.
So I see Derek writing down notes over there. So I'm guessing that this is going to be brought up to us next week when we're back in the building.
Oh, is that next week already?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, we're back to
Yeah.
school.
I think where we were coming from is where our goal is to get all of our students to a 3. Our goal is we want our students to be competent. Maybe not every student is going to get to a 4, but if we can get every student to that competent level, that was kind of where we thought when we were trying to figure out where do we kind of, should there be a cap for reassessment? If we can get every student to a 3, because 2 is passing, right? But if we can get every student to competent, that's where the goal should be. And then if students are already at that 4, that is that they have stood out, they have exceeded that goal. Maybe they didn't get to the 4 this time, maybe they get to the 4 next time. And like you were saying, Mel, like, all right, well, I didn't do great on this test. Well, I'm going to work my butt off and I'm going to get that 4 next time.
What is the 3 equivalent to, like, when you go to do your?
It's a 3.0.
Oh,
It comes in as a 3.0. This
Yeah.
is part of my problem.
yeah,
with
exactly.
this.
That's why I'm wondering what that factors
It's the
to.
middle B, and then the 4 is a high A.
Okay.
The range there is insane.
It is. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of going at too. It should be 3.
I'd be devastated with
Yeah.
3.0.
3.9.
Yeah.
Right?
I think I alluded to that. How do you and you were talking about weighting and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, but then again, 3.1 for someone in just regular high school classes versus someone who's taking, the honors classes and the AP classes. Yes, I know that's completely different.
Yeah, think of the difference between 100 and 85.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's always been a
That's
problem for a lot
wild.
of us.
It is wild.
Especially when we went to, I was at a different school when we first started going to the competency based. And that was for a lot of us were like, how can we even do this? What do you mean? Why can't we have a 3.5 and for a lot of us, that was a really hard transition to go to, was to go from a 100-point scale to a 4-point scale. And then that question was, well, why can't we do a 3.5 or a 3.1? Because then it wouldn't be a 4-point scale. It would be a 20-point scale so it was kind of like an all or nothing. And they're totally separate.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Some schools do live in both worlds.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it was brought to us when it first started, I want to say it was when Dan came on.
Yeah,
as-
he pulled us kicking and screaming over the
So,
finish line. Yeah.
But it's like 2019,
Mhm.
somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
And I was under the impression at that point in time, it was going to be like that college
Mhm.
4-point
Mhm.
system, and after that, we talked about it a little bit, but not a heck of a lot. But then later on, I'm finding out that it's 3, 4.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to fill in the middle. Again, I don't do what you guys do, so I'm just sitting over here listening. But and maybe it is very hard to do that, to figure that out. But again, it goes back to traditional grading, and that's how when I was in college, you got back. You didn't get A's, B's, or C's. You got a grade score, a number score, and that translated directly into the 4-point system.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you guys are working on it. You're doing a great job.
There
You
are
have to
always,
deal with
there
a
are always
lot.
things we can improve.
And I think
Yeah,
that's a
deal
much
with a
bigger
lot.
conversation that obviously
Yeah.
we're not going to have a solution
No,
for tonight.
exactly.
Like that's a year-long, multi-year-long conversation to
Sure.
have. And
Well,
I'm
let's
sure
have
we'll
it then.
continue it.
Let's have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, instead of, I would say, let's take this and feed it into
Yeah.
that conversation.
I hate to think that that's the confident that we're setting them out into the world with a
But I also
0.0.
think
and we're saying they're competent,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
Just-
no,
it was
and-
just clicking in my head. That's all.
another thing that we discussed, and it was a little bit mentioned in our meeting and a little bit mentioned over email that we were having, is the average system, that how we average their grades. And to average grades in a competency-based system is not really competency-based. With competency-based, you take the end, where they get at the end.
Yeah, it's a
And if-
summative.
And if they get
Yeah.
to the very end and they have a 4, that's their grade, because that's
Yeah.
that's
They've
that-
demonstrated competency.
have
Doesn't
demonstrated-
matter what they did
right,
before.
exactly. That, like, once they've reached the end, if they have a 4, that's what
Mhm.
their grade is. So that is another thing that we discussed within our PALT meeting over the summer, is that, again, maybe that's that's a conversation for another day, but that was something
Well,
else
and
that
that's
we
fully
had
embracing
discussed.
that competency-based
Yeah.
model.
Yeah.
Is that it wipes out anything before. Like you move on.
Correct. Yep.
And as soon as you get that summative, all the formatives go away.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you're demonstrating competency.
But
Or
these are the discussions that we've been having departmentally.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things that we've been discussing for a number of years within our departments, and then even interdepartmentally, that we know that there are things that we can work on. There are things that we know that we can do better, and we definitely appreciate the feedback.
Something, and Derek wasn't here obviously, but you'll remember, because I think the first couple of years they used the mode,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mhm.
the kids might on their first
Yep.
2 summatives.
Yep.
get their 3s or 4s and then
And then
shut down
don't,
after
and do
that.
nothing. Yep. Yep. That was horrible.
So, but
Yep.
we had the student senate president or representative come in and tell us that.
Yep. We learned real fast to get rid of that. Yep. Yep. We got rid of mode real fast. 'Cause
Are
they
there
learned to
are
give
there
up.
others are there sticking points that
Mm.
are a definite like no go tonight? Because obviously we have kids in the building in like a week, so
Yeah, I mean, I'm
We
not
can't
in
look out
favor
to
of
them.
this as it is. I mean, there's a lot I need to see to get to a point where I can say yes to
Yeah,
this.
I would have to, yeah, like to Ken's point, I think Ken's right. And, last week I was kind of like, okay, yeah, you're at a 3, you can't retest, and I was kind of having the gaming thing in my head,
Mhm.
probably a little too
Mhm.
much. But I think, when you're looking at those words at the end, distinction, that's what the kids are seeing, that's what the parents are seeing. You have to give them every opportunity to get there. And kids can be lazy. I've got, 2 projects I'm working on right now. I can't take on a third one, so we're gonna let that slide. Is that lazy? I don't know. Maybe it's overwhelming because they are only kids. But yeah, I think I'm more with Ken on that. Is yeah, it's more burden on the teachers, but I think that everyone, if you're going to give the opportunity this time, you have to give it to all. It's like, I think so. Yeah. 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 I mean, and you have to take the baby steps now since there wasn't a time limit. Yeah. Like I said, I disagree with the 10 days, but you've got a starting. You can move that back as you see fit.
I agree with having the timeline, like,
Yeah.
as long as the
Yeah.
students,
Yeah.
I agree that
Mhm.
it shouldn't get out of control, but like, and I can understand it's a lot of work on the teachers too, and I'm not a teacher, with having their reassessments, especially if there's a lot of people doing them. I don't know if there is a lot of students doing them, but I would like to think there's alternative ways to do that too. Like, doesn't always have to be, you have to create 3 multiple choice tests, right? There's got to be other way to show competence, whether it's a PowerPoint or you're verbally doing something. Like, there's other ways. You know what I mean? I don't want to put work on the teachers, but my biggest sticking,
with the science lab that becomes a little bit different.
yeah, I
Yeah.
could
And
see in
math.
some of those could be hard.
Your STEM is where it's really
Yeah,
difficult.
that's going to be really that for math and science. It's where there's a lot more for the teachers to have to redo, or
'Cause
for
you're
the,
setting up like a whole chem lab sometimes.
Yeah.
Using chemicals or bio
Are
products.
those honors classes? I
Yeah.
mean, are
Oh,
they?
yeah. And that's where, honestly, that's where a lot of that's where your
they're the ones that
reassessments
care.
are.
Mhm.
That was kind of like they should have prepared for it. That was kind of what's holding me back. But I think you have to be.
Well, I have a question, and I know this is not going to sound good. For an honors or an AP class, should you be getting a reassessment at all? Should you
You
have
tell
the
me.
opportunity to have a
I'm just going to
reassessment?
have you revisit my earlier comment,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to say that.
If you
Okay.
get the feedback,
I'm just going to leave it there.
feedback side.
I know you're ahead of me in grades, so
Yeah.
I'm going to just
Yeah.
go with you. I'm just saying, if you are in that kind of level, shouldn't we be teaching them? You don't get second and third chances.
So
I
but
don't know.
I want to go back to Derek's point real quick. It sounds like there's the majority of things you guys were fine with. It really was the sticking points around the reassessment cap and the highest score you could get on a reassessment.
Mhm.
Well, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Those are finals.
Mhm.
traditionally they have been reassessable.
Really?
So that was part of this request, is that the teachers coming together and asking for that approval to say that midterms and finals cannot be reassessed. They're a one and done. They're a measure of competence at that point in time.
Yeah, I think that was fair. Yeah, I didn't have any problem with that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the students know that, okay, the end of the semester or the end of the year is coming.
Oh yeah.
Now I got to buckle down, and doesn't matter how much I have to do. I'm getting slammed all at once from everybody anyway. So, that's,
That's true.
yeah. Absolutely.
And just to add the perspective, we can tell them that it's not reassessable and we can be very clear and they will still ask us to reassess
Yeah.
because that's,
They'll bat their eyes at you.
Mm.
Whine a little bit.
yes, may God be with you.
If it's in the handbook, they'll make the phone call. Your statement to the phone call is check the handbook.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it sounds like this is, if we can get to a point where we can have the remainder of the
Mm-hmm.
proposals approved, but barring the two above, the two first bullet points under reassessment, because I agree that we need to have a bigger conversation, because it sounds like there's a whole lot of other issues that have been brewing, or feelings that, teachers may want to have an input on the grading system, that I think these tie right into.
Mhm.
And so is there a way we can get to approval for the rest of the amendments on here, except for those two bullet points?
Can I just add a few last minute things? So the rubrics that we have, our school-wide rubrics, the 4 explicitly uses the terms consistently and independently when describing the 4 category, that students, are consistently and independently getting to a 4, like sort of on their own, arriving at that knowledge to get them to a 4. So I think if we're allowing them to reassess, the independence piece is not there. So that is a concern. We had a few teachers that were looking at other schools in our surrounding area, and we will be the only school that does not cap a reassessment in our surrounding area. All of the other schools cap their reassessments. Some are at 70%, because again, not every school does the 4-point scale. Some are at 80%. Conval caps at 90%. So there are a lot of other schools around us that have caps for their reassessment. But there is widespread support within the Pembroke Academy staff for this proposal as it is written.
I want to go back to Ken's concerns as well. If maybe if you're going to cap it, then there has to be a caveat where if a student can show that they've got 2, 3, 4 formatives or lab, whatever the case may be, that they have not received feedback on, then that student should be eligible to take a reassessment.
Do we
Or
have,
timely feedback. That's
Well,
the
yeah.
issue.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can't have it the day before something,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there is,
The 3 formatives back the week before the summative.
Yeah.
That's
Derek,
seen it.
where is it written that, is it in our faculty handbook? We do have, it is written how much time that we have to give students feedback on formative and summative. Is that in our faculty handbook? I'm trying to. Let me. I'm trying to pull up the.
I mean, I do think we should embargo the first two bullet points. We're not there, I don't think. I'm speaking for myself, but you know, there are too many questions right now. And I think a longer conversation over the course of the year about the system generally. I'm not a big fan of allowing people to just kind of mail it in until they find out where the minimum viable product is to get a 4. I don't like that at all. But I also don't know that we can institute a policy now with all of the open questions that at least I have, and I think a few others have. So
Did this
that's my holdup.
cap, if schools around us that cap it to 3 or letter grade?
So let's see.
2 or 70?
Yeah. Mhm. Ken, can I go back to what you had just mentioned?
Yep.
You used some
Yep.
some language there. Are you used some nice language I wanted to. Are you worried that students don't see like a product of what a 4 looks like? They don't know like what a like an exemplar looks like, or
I don't possibly. I mean, that's an example, I suppose, of something.
Mhm.
It's more a question of are they getting the timely feedback on the way to the summative,
Okay.
such that they can improve along the way, which
Mm.
I think is the philosophy
Mhm.
underneath this whole system.
Is
Um,
I mean, sounds very specific, and I'm not calling them up, but that sounds very specific for math, because that's not kind of like how for my classes that would
Sure,
work, right?
sure,
Like for my classes,
Right.
I don't do, with the exception of my APs, because
Right.
I'm preparing them for a big ugly test,
Right.
right? So for my psychology, my sociology, all of their projects, Carrie would remember because 2 of her girls came through my class. It's all like their summatives are all
Yeah.
presentations, or they're all like authentic assessments.
Mhm.
So all of the formatives that we do are all getting them ready for either presentations, or they are Phineas Gage, and we're getting ready for discussion in class. So any of the formative feedback that they get in my class is not necessarily preparing them for their unit summative, but it's preparing them for class discussions, things like that. But for a math class, they might need that formative feedback, preparing them for a math test.
Mhm.
But if they're getting feedback in my class, I give them very specific
Sure.
feedback for
Sure.
in their summative,
Yeah.
for their presentation, for their next presentation, that they know what they need to improve
Right.
on. But if they're not, so it sounds like the feedback you're referring to might be in a class that's more specific, where the homework
could
is
be,
for a summative
yeah, it could be
test.
that, or I think just in general, and this is where it's like the policy has to be used universally. So it has to fit both what you're doing
Mhm.
and what someone
Yeah,
else is doing. in that
absolutely.
sense. And that's why I'd have to say, I would need to see culturally that what Derek just read is
Mhm.
in actuality the thing that we're doing.
Mhm.
And I have concerns about
Yep.
that. And I have concerns that the students are not. I think we would be setting ourselves up for a situation where, student X comes along and says, well, I didn't get the guidance I needed to get to the highest grade, and now I can't reassess it. Right. Then what do we do? Because right now, as I've said, I think the system flawed though it may be, allows for that kind of that kind of correction take place, right? Again, I'm not a big fan of that, I want to say, right? I just want to be clear about this. But I don't want to do more damage by putting a policy in place that doesn't account for where we are as a school in Pembroke Academy right now, such that it then creates problems for a different set of students in order to solve problems with a set of students over here. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely.
Just displaces the problem in a way.
Would it help if language was added into the reassessment policy about feedback, teacher feedback?
I mean, that's a piece, but as I said at the very top, I don't think you can say the two things that we say, which is a 4 is with distinction, but we don't allow you to reassess to a 4. I don't think you can say those two things at the same time. Something's got to give there, right? Because a distinction it's a superlative on top of a thing that is achievable by itself. When you put that word on it. And if that's the language we're using, we're communicating out to parents, students, teachers, everyone, that this person is not only at a 4, but they're at a 4 with a nice little flourish on it. That's what distinction is, right? That's what that word kind of means. So again, language does matter at a certain point, particularly in competency-based education, right? Because the numbers are so blunt. So we have to make sure we're saying the thing that we want to say when we say it.
Because even if a student does, we move forward, the student takes the reassessment and, starts at a 3, gets to a 4, distinction does not exist because it took them twice to get to that point. But I think, language, to Ken's point, language would be great as far as a timely review and feedback, but it's also now falling to the student to exercise their rights to have that stuff done. If, Ken's sitting there and his kid brings home something, geez, they wouldn't let me take a reassessment because, I got a 3 on it, but I've got these papers that say there's no feedback. I don't understand what's going on here. So Ken steps in and says, okay, this is what you got to do, because now he knows the policy. But if that kid doesn't go home and says to their parents that this happened, or the parent just doesn't care, the student's got to advocate for themselves, which we encourage, but still a kid talking to an adult. And they don't want to push, they're not comfortable. There are certain kids that will, that have no problems with it. So I think even if the language has changed, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. At that point in time.
Do we have
But-
data?
And I think that, again, distinction part of it kind of goes away if you're at a 3 and you have to take it again.
Do we have data of a percentage of how many reassess that have a 3 trying to get to a 4 who actually get it?
I'm guessing that you will. I'm guessing you will after this.
Okay.
I can hear my phone
Right.
buzzing over there, so
Yeah, fair
So,
enough. Excellent.
I'm guessing.
I don't know. I
just-
haven't heard any new points come up in the last 20
No.
minutes.
No.
So at this point, I would
Thank
probably
you.
recommend that somebody make a motion in one way or another, so that Mr. Hamilton has a direction to move forward with staff.
Can I just also, were we talking about a motion for the entire thing or just?
As
That's-
you will, at the will of the board.
Okay,
what you-
I just
whatever you
wanted
would
to
like
ask
do.
can I move to another section?
Yeah.
We
right
had
ahead.
talked last time about the senior junior privileges, and I
Oh, yeah.
want to make sure that the language that's on here is what was on here the last time. This
Yeah,
wasn't
you-
updated for us, right? We talked about it, but the one in front of us is the one
Oh, yeah. We didn't
This
even
is
talk
the
about
one
that.
from last
from
time.
last time.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know that we raised concerns around I don't know what.
Juniors
This
having the
concerns me
ability,
about
juniors having the ability
So
to,
I just didn't know if there was any feedback or if this even came up, around even the label. We talked a little bit about that.
Oh, I remember. that.
yeah.
And we talked about putting we talked about also a credit threshold rather than
Mhm.
using the class year as a thing. Those were, again, right? Because if you put the word privilege on something, it feels like a
Right.
privilege, and now you're taking a privilege away.
Correct.
Right?
Thank you,
Versus
Kristen.
something else. So that's not like a deal breaker. I just didn't know if there was any further thought on that. Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
That doesn't count. Somebody.
I know, thank you. I'm not going to ask this time. I wasn't even going to
I want
ask
to
this
reassure
time.
you that if
Actually,
there's
let's,
a combination that
somebody-
they are legally required to have, that doesn't necessarily constitute as late,
Yeah,
unless they went beyond that
Correct.
without teacher permission.
I think that's fair.
yeah, I do too. Are you okay with that one too? I mean, I feel more strongly about the whole reassessment thing, but I do think we need to look at the privileges junior stuff again. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea that there's a credit thing attached to it, grade thing attached to it,
I
or
don't know what the
something.
credit would be.
I know, me
'Cause I
either.
think part of the idea was, from remembering the conversation, that like the right off the bat, like,
Yeah.
you kind of want them here,
Correct.
especially in that junior year, a little bit more, right? So is there a credit threshold you put on that to make sure that at least for the first quarter they're here? Is the 2.5 high enough? I don't know.
And I don't know if we need to discuss it more in the future too.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about how it became juniors because of COVID and having people in the buildings that they never had this privilege before. And your junior year is supposed to be rigorous, and we're trying to have a rigorous academic school. So should we still be doing that?
But I kind of look at that differently
You
for
do?
juniors because they have a rigorous, most juniors take a rigorous schedule.
Yeah.
And to have that ability to, maybe they've been up really late the night before, really pounding the paper to find those answers to those questions that are going to be on that test the next day. It's okay for them to come in late, like to have that ability to come in a little later or to be able to run home at lunch to freshen up their notes or, like those kinds of things. I look at it as your junior year tends to be your hardest year. And maybe that's better to give them a little bit of
Yeah.
leeway in their junior year.
But I think he explained the last meeting. It's like there's opportunity to take classes. They're taking less classes with less credits. Like there's opportunity where they're not, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what you said.
Right.
Yep. Thank you. That's mostly what I was concerned with, is that we're gonna look at this again.
And I may counter that by saying not take it away, but maybe increase that overall score
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking it away.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the, either credits and GPA as kind of like,
Mhm.
benchmarks. So.
Yeah.
Maybe they have to be registered for more than 27 credits to know.
A lot. If I didn't need more than a
Play that
75
game.
for senior privileges, if I did need more, I would.
Jean.
Some kind of motion,
No.
one way or
Right,
another.
This will be motion.
I don't even know.
If you so, if you
Whatever
want
you
to,
choose,
if you
whatever.
want to, or you could approve the whole thing, or you could throw in a wild card, Ken.
So I make a motion to approve the changes to the student handbook, except for the first two bullet points under the proposed bullet points under reassessment.
All right, I'll second.
Under reassessment.
I did.
Oh, Jean did.
Second.
I got you.
I didn't hear it.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I don't think at this point we
No,
could.
I can. I know. All right. I'll move along then. All those in favor of approving the PA handbook proposed changes with the exception of the two first bullet points under reassessment, say aye.
I
Aye. All those opposed? Abstain? Long. That was long. Sorry. Thank you.
Would you mind entertaining an additional motion that would allow them to modify the handbook once JICK is approved,
Oh,
just like we did for Rivers and Hill?
I'll move that PA can modify their handbook once policy JICK is approved.
Just point of order, that's for the purposes of updating that policy.
For
Correct.
updating that policy.
Yeah, okay.
I'll second.
any other questions? No. All those in favor of updating the PA handbook for the purposes after approval of what is it? CK, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, abstain? Okay.
Jean motioned it.
Jean and Carrie seconded.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we'll move on to D, culture and climate survey.
Yeah, so I started going, I put it in the drive last time. I
Mhm.
dropped it in there again, just so you can continue to look at it.
Mhm.
I'm in the process of going through and analyzing,
you.
all that data.
Thank you.
Bye, have a good night. And actually, Mr. Hamilton, I think you are good to go as well if you want. Or you're welcome to stay for the consent if you want to stay for the. All right.
Well, there they are.
So I'm in the process of analyzing all of that data. I'm going through and picking out trends that I've noticed. So I'm in the process. I will continue to come back with that analysis when I'm done, but I'll keep adding that to the agenda.
Mhm.
But in progress, there's a lot of data to go through with 3 schools. So
That's why I was
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yep.
no, you've.
yeah, it was a little more than I thought.
Yeah.
E, we have school board goals. I don't know if anybody. So what I was thinking, I don't know, we did this before. If you guys, unless you guys have additional notes you want to give me right now of like topics and stuff, what I was thinking of doing is just doing a Google sheet and adding everything that we have and on it. And in your free time, try to add
Mhm.
topics that we want to, everybody can have access to it and start throwing in their ideas.
That's good.
Does that work?
Yeah.
For
Um,
created weekend, but
you're going to drop that in the drive?
I can drop it in the drive or I can keep it in my drive and just,
Well, just because if you have a document that all 5 of you are editing, that constitutes as a public meeting.
No, because last time Patty said it does not unless we're all in there at the same time.
Okay, then
As-
don't all be in there at the same time.
Yeah, as long as it's under 3 people in
Okay.
there. And we did it before. And if there
Okay,
was a
just be
third,
conscious of it then.
we just dropped out.
Okay, all right. As long as you're gonna do that.
Because we
See
did
my
this before.
initials.
All right.
Because we did the same thing with the.
If
town
I'm in there
meetings.
as an
We
anonymous
just did the third one.
aardvark.
Yeah,
Just get out.
as long as you're aware of that and you're gonna keep track of that, I just don't want
Is
you to be
every-
caught in a situation where you're in a meeting.
Is
You have to
everybody okay with that? Everybody knows how to see the little icon?
Okay.
Someone's in there?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. It wasn't saying.
Jean will hand it to you on a Post-it note.
All right, I'm bad. I'm not that bad.
All right, 6 consent agenda.
Here you go. One sec.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll do.
Idea.
He's gonna pull the overhead projector out in March.
All right, so consent agenda, there are 3 different requests, all from Mr. Hamilton,
Yep.
in there.
Oh, I saw those.
They're both labeled, there's 3,
2 documents though.
2 documents. I did scan 2 of them together.
Okay.
So there's one labeled number 6 consent item, budget transfer for PA, and then there's consent item number 2. The first one is a request to transfer 6,000, and I can let Mr. Hamilton explain 4,000, and then the third one is for $1,006.32.
I was gonna say, don't forget the 32 cents.
Somewhere along the way, hours and but hour thought. Okay.
It's consent, so you can do them collectively, and it's really, I put them in consent because there's really not a whole lot of discussion in there. I mean, unless you want to discuss long.
Mm-hmm.
So we do need your approval
Ready?
for those 3 transfers. If there's no.
Thank you.
Spend all the money.
I know. Oh, yeah. That's why people like me so much. I make a motion to approve the 3 consent items for account transfers for PA in the total of $11,006.32 or, well, or, no, okay. The end.
Second.
Any questions, comments? No? All those in favor of approving the account transfers for Pembroke Academy as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I know.
We just have a lot of classes, so like it may feel like that, but it's rotating. It's not all at once.
Mhm.
So
Is that it? Okay.
Mhm.
We'll move on to 7 policy.
Gonna do the bullying one first.
I don't have any other new updates. I mean, it's
Yeah.
all just legal.
Yeah.
All 3 of those are just legal language
Yeah.
that have been updated.
Right.
This is the second.
Second.
Yeah, but this
Okay,
needs to be
right?
done. So
Yeah.
that would.
Ideally, it would
If
be
you
done
wanna do
now
it.
if you can.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
I think the DFA, DIA, this is the third, I believe.
Mhm.
Because we had tabled them.
right.
And that's all, DFA and DIA are coming from feedback from our audits that we had gotten. So those are policies that we need to incorporate.
So I would, thing.
Thing I had is you guys are going to go in and fill it.
Yeah, there's like blanks that.
Yes,
we won't
correct.
know
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So I would move to adopt policies JICK, DFA, and DIA.
Any questions or comments on JICK, DFA, or DIA? All those in favor of approving policies JICK, DFA, and DIA, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Number 8, we have informational. No. Number 9, we have public comments, and we don't have any members of the public, so we're going to skip the second public comment section. Number 10, agenda items for the next meeting, which is,
September 1st.
Wow.
I guess
Like
so,
that.
September 1st, the second day of school, really?
There.
This doesn't necessarily have to be the next meeting, but I would like to have, and maybe I missed this because, you know, somebody might have forgotten a meeting or two. Anyways, if we could have the communications person come and talk to us, just so we can kind of get a feel for the plan.
Sure, that's a little unorthodox to have that level of employee come to a board meeting, but sure. I'll see if he can. He's an hourly employee, so we may have to pay him if we want
just-
him to do that.
Show up late for it. No.
And they're under contract.
Or maybe if
Is there something that like
we could see the plan.
Just would like to kind of get a feel for what we've got some really big things that are
And
coming.
short.
And I just, in a very short period of time, yes. And I'd like to, you know, see first off if there's any sort of plan, what the thought process is on how we're going to reach as many people as we possibly. Just kind of
Mhm.
Mhm.
their brain. a
Yeah,
little bit.
why don't I bring back some kind of
Yeah, not necessarily come, I wasn't thinking, but the same kind of questions, like,
yeah.
I have the same concerns
Let me
too.
put something together for that. I'll meet with him and go over what he's thinking and what he can do and what might be the best way to get some of that information out there publicly that he has ideas on. It'd be one thing if he was an administrator, but he's not.
Hmm.
A little bit more complicated. But I can bring something back.
Oh, and I forgot to add this to the agenda, but will we have an update or no? You said the health insurance.
Oh, we're
The people.
We just sent out. Lane's working on sending back up for bid.
Okay.
We're recollecting new employee health plan
Okay.
information. We have a new batch of employees, so we have to resend that out, which we need for negotiations anyway.
Okay. But we're still working on that so that
Yep.
we can have
Yep.
some kind of,
100%.
all right. Okay. I don't think I have anything else. I don't know.
Derek, are you going to revisit like those first two bullet points and have something for us on September 1st, do you think, or? Okay, okay.
It sounds like it'll be a bigger conversation anyway, so we may have different kind of updates.
So, okay, so I just had a thought. By us nixing the first two, did we knock out the 10 school day thing?
No.
No, that was a
Okay.
different bullet point.
That was
Yeah.
another one,
Yeah.
okay. I just wanted to make sure. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Back to. Not right now. I'm sure there'll
No.
be things that come up.
Yeah, and we can be in touch on that. All right. I think that's it. Anybody else? No?
Good.
Okay.
Nope.
Hang on a second. Our next school board meeting will be Tuesday, September 1st in the Pembroke Academy Library at 6:30 PM. And the board does have the need to go into non-public under NHRSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, small letter C, which says matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the board. On a roll call vote to go into non-public at 8:25. Sharon? Jean?
Yep.
Ken?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.